Welcome back. You're listening to News Talk 770 and More Than Money. And Faisal, we're going to talk about security. We've talked about this. We've talked about seniors' care, really, right? And one of the concerns often is about security and monitoring. And, you know, like my mom's in Edmonton, I'm in Calgary. How do I know what's going on, right? There's stress involved in that.
It's more communication than security itself. Remember the old ad that used to be, you press that button, help, I can't get up?
Yeah.
Well, that technology has changed immensely.
Well, it's evolved immensely. That's right.
It's crazy. So there's opportunities for us to stay in touch with seniors. There's an opportunity for caregivers to be connected still on what's going on, even though they may physically not be there. So here's an opportunity to learn more about it, you know?
Well, and no better person to help us understand that than Brad Prince. He's the Business Development Manager for Seniors Care for Liberty Security. Brad, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm fascinated. I've read some of your material in the article, but I'm fascinated with sort of the evolution of where the technology has gone. It stands to reason that technology is obviously going to help us in this area, and with an aging demographic. And I think in your in one of your releases, you noted that the seniors population is predicted to nearly double by 2034. So we know that this problem about seniors care and safety is going to get a little tougher as this demographic ages. But give us a bit of background about what you guys are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, so we have a system called Liberty InTouch, and it's a wireless home safety system. So it would probably get lumped into the category of personal emergency response, which is the help I've fallen and can't get up systems that you described.
Right.
But it's much different. So this is a system that works in the home, and a personal emergency response system. Those help buttons, they get used when an emergency has already occurred.
Right.
And they only get used if the person who needs it is actually wearing the button. And for mobile personal emergency response, if they're wearing it and it's charged. So the really only value in those situations is when the emergency has occurred. With the Liberty InTouch system, we are getting notifications to family and loved ones around anomaly in-home activity well before there might be an issue. So it's much more proactive, and it's really around, all of us have a story. All of us have loved ones. We take that relationship really seriously. They've paved the way for us all, and so we want to be able to provide help when they most need it, and getting in front of falls is what we're concerned about.
And how does this information get communicated to the caregivers or loved ones that may be away from the home?
Sure. So you have a few pieces of hardware, sensors, small sensors in the home. They're not video. They're not intrusive. They're small, and you would live your life just as normal without even knowing they're there. But so a couple motion sensors in different homes, a door contact on the exit door or doors, a little micro contact on a medicine cabinet or a fridge, and a bed sensor. And so as the elderly loved one lives their life normally in their home or in their own apartment or in their own condo, basically those little sensors record events in the cloud. And then the family members or caregivers build notifications around the anomaly situation. So, for example, if they were to get up out of bed at 2 a.m. and not get back into bed within 10 minutes, then the system would send a text message to 2 or 5 people, not emergency bells or anything like that, but just a text message or an email that would allow for a conversation at that time or the next day. Because the activities of daily living, ADLs, are are we eating enough? Are we sleeping enough? Are we sleeping in? Is there wandering around the home at nighttime? Are we getting out of the home? And so to answer your question, it's notifications, text message, emails around anomaly in-home activity.
Is there a way you get reporting as well, too? Because if you get a text message today and one tomorrow and a different one a third day, to keep track of what's coming on so you can kind of see some trends and so forth, do we get reporting on that as well, too?
For sure. So every time an event occurs, there's motion in a room, the fridge opens or the pillbox opens, all those events are logged in the dashboard. That there's a visual depiction of it if your listeners want to go to www.libertyseniors.ca. there's a computer screen and a visual depiction of it. And so you can scroll through back day by day, past months, weeks, and actually see that activity data on a dashboard. That's good as a reference, but it's not the real value of the system. The value of the system is that elderly person can live their life as they have. Family members or caregivers can live their life as they have. We have much more reduced worry, and there's that reference to that dashboard if needed.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second, and I'm sure you've had this question before, but if we, first of all, how receptive are seniors to this? Because, some may argue that it's an invasion of privacy, it's a big brother thing. I could see, people I know reacting negatively to the fact that they think I or somebody close to them is just watching everything they do.
Yeah, that's a great question, and we get that question a lot. And so that's usually the way people think when they first hear the system. When we are able to show and explain the system for a minute or two, then they're much more at ease. So this is information that we would have if we're living together. This is family we're talking about, and often in these situations, it's like, are we going to move back in with Dad? Or are we going to have Dad move in with us? And so we would need to get closer anyways to live healthy. And so this allows for a remote way to have that same comfort and knowledge around information we would have known if we were living together anyways. And so and it's just motion, and there's no video. And so and those in terms of the system, it's a highly secured system. Bank level encryption,
right.
And so things are really secure.
Right.
And the transmission of this information can come to your smartphone, is it, and on I'm assuming an iPad as well too, or a tablet or what have you?
Sure. Yeah. So the mobile app works with both Android and Apple cell phones and tablets, and then obviously the desktop or regular computer integration as well.
Now, the technology and the evolution of it, where it's going, sounds terrific, and certainly there'll be a debate on both sides whether there's a privacy invasion or whether it's good, and whatever that case may be. But I'm really interested in sort of the application of this. So I'm curious if you can share with us any examples of being proactive, right? Where perhaps a trend was spotted that you know of in a personal situation, without obviously sharing personal details, but where you've spotted a trend or the family member spotted a trend and avoided a potential problem.
Sure. So we have a client in Red Deer who has an InTouch system, and one of the notifications that we had set up is an inactivity notification. So we can say that if we know that Dad is always up and about and around the house between Monday and Friday, there's some sort of activity between noon and 6. We have a notification for this lady's place that if there's no sensor activity from any of the sensors, the bed sensors, there's no doors being opened, there's no motion in any rooms, and if no activity occurs for 3 hours, the notifications get sent off. And so what had happened is this lady had diabetes, and she just fainted for a while in her chair. It wasn't a huge fall, and she had her oxygen in, and so it wasn't a huge challenge. But when the inactivity notification came through, it allowed. This is at an independent living facility, so we made sure that notifications were going to they don't have full-time care there, but they do have someone on site.
Mm-hmm.
We made sure notifications went there, and she had a personal home care. So that allowed for some follow-up, and it was, I guess it would be classified as a near miss, and that was without her wearing a personal emergency response device. It was just sensors in the home.
And so I'm gathering, and it stands to reason that the system is customizable for what kinds of alarms and the duration of those, inactivity periods and so on and so forth, based on, the individual that you're monitoring.
Absolutely. So this is where the real value comes in. Family members, caregivers who are concerned and want to use the system, obviously, we'll track 2 weeks of activity, and then we'll build a set of notifications, the 6 or 7 ones that we usually use. But then, if people are getting inundated with emails or texts, then we tone it down or change the time frames, tweak the notifications so it's customized for that individual.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, Brad, can you give us a sense of what the range is in terms of cost? So what does it take to implement a system like this, just in terms of, somebody coming into the home? And then what can we expect from a hardware and an ongoing monitoring cost perspective?
Sure. So consider your typical cell phone. So we work on a 1-year agreement because we want to put a bundle of sensors into the home without any costs up front.
Gotcha.
And so, for $150, we'll install and activate a system and install it in the home. And then in terms of the month to the month, it's an average cell phone bill. So the sensors and the bundle of sensors that would be included with that would be a couple motion detectors, a couple door contacts, and a bed sensor.
Right.
And all for the price of an average cell phone in terms of the monthly.
And so is that in the sort of the $50 range or something like that?
Yeah, so $60, $65.
Yeah, okay. All right, so you got a monthly cost and then a small upfront cost for potentially for the hardware. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's a little less or a little more depending on the system.
What you're trying to monitor.
Yep.
Okay, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that? What's your website?
Yeah, so again, our website is www.libertyseniors.ca, and our phone number, we have offices in Edmonton and Calgary. Our phone number is 1-866-926-SAFE or 1-866-926-7233.
That's great. We've been joined by Brad Prince. He's the Business Development Manager of Seniors Care for Liberty Security. Brad, thanks for taking some time with us today.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.